I never know exactly when the announcement video is going to end. I don't know how you guys feel. It's like, is it over yet? No, it's not. It's still going. And we could really use some more announcement people. So if you love being on camera, you should consider announcement team. That's my plug for teams. But I'm up here again because I get to announce our speaker for tonight, which is super exciting. We are hearing Sarah De La Forest. I'm going to say it. So Dan's wife, Sarah, is here, which is amazing. I thought of all these things about you. I was like, all these people need to know. Sarah is a nurse. She's the best baker that I know, hands down. If she makes a baked good, I will eat it every single time. And that's not always true. So she has 4 children, so she's a mom. She can act, she can sing, she can write, she can do many different things. She can run. There's lots of different things about her, so I'm excited for you guys to get to know her. So let's give her a hand when she comes up. This is the one that I get.
Hi guys. I'm Sarah. I have probably met like 10 of you. I'm sorry. Usually I'm surrounded by a gaggle of children. There are 4 of them. I have 2 8-year-olds and 2 7-year-olds in my home. And Dan, whose job I'm doing tonight and all week because he's in California. So, yeah. It's really nice to be out of the house, guys. So good. Okay. Let's see. Can we just start with praying real quick, please? Thank you. Lord, I am so privileged to be able to be here tonight and to talk to these lovely students about life and not being a college student anymore. And I just ask, Lord, that you would give me the words to say to really help them understand what you've put on my heart. In your name, amen. All right. So first I'm going to age myself a little bit. Okay, everybody ready? How many people in 2004 were still in diapers? Oh gosh. Okay, in 2004, I took the first trip as a college junior to Chicago with Chi Alpha. And I graduated in, did Grant go on that trip? I don't think he did. He went to Milwaukee the year before, so Grant and I in 2003 went to Milwaukee. But then in 2004 I went to Chicago, and it was super fun, so I hope everybody who goes has a really good time. Anyway, besides the point. So I graduated from UMD in 2005 with a degree in teaching life science. How many people are going to be teachers? Raise your hand. There's not that many, actually. Raise them higher. Oh my gosh, I'm shocked. Okay, well, I'm going to scare the 6 of you who raised your hand. So I taught for 4 years in 2005, 2006, 7, 8, and 9. But I guess that's... I'm trying to do the math. It was like 2005 to 2006, and then 2008 to 2009, you know, those years. Okay. So anyway, my teaching career, I felt like, was disastrous. Just so you know. I had 8th graders who were laying on the tables in my science class. Like, literally laying on the tables. I think somebody made a bomb threat in one of my classes. He was joking, but it was still a bomb threat, and so then we had to turn it into the principal, and the cops came and brought him out. This was in my class, my class. I had another kid who smuggled alcohol in his golf bag, and and the really smart thing was that they were talking about it in my class while they were working on a project, and he was like, as far as you guys are from me. And then was really surprised when I turned him into the principal and said, hey, you know, there's alcohol in their golf bag. And then they got suspended from golf. And then they came the next day to school and blamed me for it. I said, I have good ears, guys. I'm 24, so be smart about what you talk about in my classroom. Like, don't be dumb. Really. I would come home every day, and I really wondered what was stopping the mutiny that should be happening in my classroom right now, because there's all these kids. And there was one teacher who was 24, and I was so confused as to why they weren't rioting in my classroom. I mean, it kind of sounds like they were. It didn't go well, teaching for me. So it's gonna fall again, I promise. I really felt like I was just this terrible failure as a teacher. But my principals would always tell me, oh, you're doing such a good job. You know, the class, I've come into your classroom and you're connecting with the kids. You're getting your points home. You're doing a great job. You're just so good. People mostly pass my classes, you know, except for the kids laying on the table. He did not pass. And I bet that's surprising, isn't it? And the funny thing was that I really liked teaching, and I kind of really liked the kids that I was teaching. I just didn't really enjoy teaching the kids, which is a problem when you're a teacher. But I was a college student who had just graduated, and I was so excited, and I really felt like I was supposed to be a teacher. I felt like God had called me to be a teacher. I loved school when I was in school, and I thought everybody liked teachers, and I really wanted to make this like difference in the world. And I was so sure that I was in God's will. And I don't necessarily know that I wasn't in God's will, but I was like determined to tough it out, even though I didn't really love what I was doing. And that, you know, sometimes I personally get very stubborn, and I decide that I am going to do something because somebody said that, because I said I was going to do it, and dang it, I'm going to do it. And you guys are kind of in this place right now where you get to choose your career. You've come to college. First you had to pick a college, and that's a really big lifetime decision, right? And you all chose UMD, congratulations. I picked here because of the lake. It's not really a good reason to pick a school, but that's why I picked it. We get this choice, right? We have this choice. And we first choose our college, and then we choose our major. And in our major, there are different paths that we can go down to try to come up with our career. and we have all these things that are driving us, like what job am I going to make the most money in? What job am I going to be the most successful in? Am I going to be recognized in this job? What do I want to do? What do I like to do? What do I like to study? And all these things, I feel like it can lead to this special kind of pride. Like we get to make these choices, and as young people, which I'm not young anymore, as I've already established, but we, as young people, we make this choice, and it's like ours. It's like the first thing that we really own, like all through high school and middle school and elementary school, your parents are making all these decisions for you, and maybe you're making some of your own decisions, but we're making a lot of decisions that we know that our parents would want us to make. And then we get to college and we have this freedom to make this choice. And sometimes our choice in our career leads to pride. And there's a special kind of pride that I think it's like a really cool word. That's hubris. I mean, has anybody in here ever heard of hubris? Yeah, hubris is an awesome word. It's so cool. So I did a little studying on it, and hubris is this excessive pride. And in Greek tragedy, when they were talking about people who were defying the gods, they used the word hubris. And I think that I know I was suffering from a little bit of hubris, okay? I was not being completely defiant of what God wanted me to do, but I didn't really want to listen. Like, I was not very successful in the classroom. I didn't really love it, but I was pretty sure that that's what I was supposed to do, and so I was gonna do it, dang it. Get out of my way, I'm gonna do it. And we become so prideful that we refuse to acknowledge that our plans aren't in line with what Jesus is asking of us. And there's a lot of motivation behind it, right? Like, okay, well, if I admit that I failed, then I have to figure out what I'm going to do next, and that's going to cost me a lot of money. It's going to cost me a lot of time. I'm not going to get far enough up the ladder as I thought that maybe I would get. I'm not going to get the recognition that I'm going to have to admit to somebody that I'm a failure. And so we're trying to do something that we're not called to do just because we're afraid of what might actually be out there for us. And there's this void inside us that we're trying to fill. We're trying to fill it with our pride. We're trying to fill it with money. We're trying to fill it with success, with recognition. And none of those things will fill it. They don't fill it. I'll tell you right now. If you're doing your job for the wrong reason, you're never going to be happy. Jesus talks about this in Matthew 6, verse 19 through 21, when he says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And I would say to you that the void inside of us that we're trying to fill with our job is a God-given desire to make a difference and to have a purpose. Okay? That is something from Jesus. And I think that the fix to this, the fix to the pride, is a humility that is really hard. We have to admit that we can't do everything on our own. We have to admit that maybe we were wrong. We have to ask Jesus where he wants to put us in our lives. And so in 2009, we moved up here to Duluth because we thought we were going to be missionaries. Again, that was not, we are, kind of. Dan is. So we moved up here to be closer to Chuck and Sally, and to Grant and Danielle, and to learn about being missionaries. And I started to really ask God, what is it that you want me to do? And he said that he wanted me to be a nurse. And I was thinking back to the times when I was teaching, and there were a lot of times when I was teaching when people they didn't care what I had to say. But the times when they did care what I had to say was when it affected them directly. I had a student who, my last year of teaching, he discovered that he had something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a disease. It's not a disease, but it's a condition of his heart where if he exercises too hard or too vigorously, he can die very suddenly of a cardiac arrest, which is a heart attack. Okay, so his heart stops beating. And the times when he was one of the people who did not like to listen in class. He was a big troublemaker. But he would come after school and he'd get extra help because his mom told him he had to. And we would inevitably start talking about what was going on with his body. And it was the only time that he cared a lick about what I had to say, was when I was helping him understand what was going on with his body. And that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool for me to be able to have that experience with him. I wouldn't have had that had I not been his teacher, mind you. So there's that. It was those kinds of things that made me start thinking about being a nurse. So in 2010, I think, you guys don't really care about the years, it doesn't matter, I'm old. But I went back to school and I became a nurse. And the first step to becoming a nurse, besides for finding a college, which I went to Scholastica because it was here and I was here and it worked. But the first step to becoming a nurse is to be a CNA. How many people know what a CNA is? Okay. Oh, look, all of you. Okay. So I was a educated, graduated, worked for 4 years as a teacher, and I needed to go back and become a CNA. So I went and I got a CNA job at Benedictine Health Center, and I started working with a bunch of people who, CNA is a very entry-level job. There's not always a ton of really, like the lifers as CNAs are not really very educated. So it was a much different group of people than I was working with prior to that. And basically, I got people up. I helped clean them up after they had been in their brief all night. Cleaned them up, got them ready for breakfast, brought them to the breakfast room, fed them their breakfast, brought them back, sat them back in their chair, maybe took people for a walk, toileted them. It's really not a very glamorous job. But for the first time in my life, I felt really fulfilled every time I came home from work. I was like, this was a great day. It was such a great day. I love taking care of patients. This is so wonderful. And I had never felt that before. And I think that what Jesus was telling me was the real important thing in your life is your relationships with people. We always are going to have relationships with people, no matter what job we're in. You don't have to be a nurse in order to have relationships with people. You're going to have superiors, you're going to have clients, you're going to have patients, you might have students, you'll have other colleagues. And that is where your mission is in your job. It's really, really hard to try to keep your focus where Jesus says to keep your focus, to try to keep your focus with the people. I would say that I'm trying to figure out where I am because I lost my place. You guys, I never preach. It's been so long. I'm so sorry. Oh, boy. Okay. I'm going to just kind of pivot just a smidge, okay? So Danielle mentioned that we are embarking into Lent. I grew up as a Lutheran. Thank you.
There we go.
Yesterday was Ash Wednesday, okay? I love the church calendar. I think it is really special to celebrate things that people for centuries have been celebrating in order to bring them closer to Jesus. So Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent, and Lent is all about reflecting upon what Jesus did for us on the cross. It helps us look at his missional life and to think about how we're relating to him. A lot of times people fast during Lent. How many people have ever fasted during Lent? Okay, so a few of you. The purpose of a fast is to get closer to Jesus. And usually during Lent, people choose like a thing, right? You probably have heard a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm fasting sweets, or I'm not eating meat on Friday because it's Lent. They do that at the hospital all year long. They don't eat any meat on Fridays. I mean, fish. They'll do fish. But they always have a vegetarian or fish option on Fridays all year because they're Catholic. Anyway, people fast other things too, like video games. I fasted makeup once, TV, social media. I have a friend who once only drank water for the entirety of Lent because she got rid of all coffee, it was Rebecca Hovick. I bet she wouldn't care if I told you that. If you guys know Rebecca, she did a Lent where she only drank water. So the purpose of a fast is to help us become closer to Jesus. And I think that if you're considering a fast during Lent, it's best to fast something that's getting in the way of your relationship with Jesus. If you find yourself scrolling through social media instead of actually being able to process your emotions and hear what Jesus has to say about the things that you're going through, that might be something that should go for a little while. If you feel like you go shopping because you are trying to escape from something, maybe shopping is something that you could escape or fast from for a while. I fasted makeup because I felt like I didn't understand who Jesus saw me as. And so I said, enough with the makeup, I'm not going to do it for 40 days and just see what he thinks of me. So as we go into Lent, I want to ask you guys, and I want to ask myself, where is my treasure? Where is my heart? How are my relationships with other people? And how is my relationship with Jesus? And is there anything that's getting in the way of drawing me closer to him and drawing me closer to the place that he has called me to today? During this time in my life, I am more fulfilled in my job than I've ever been. I'm an emergency room nurse. I work at St. Mary's Hospital, and I love it. I love it so much. My team is incredible. I love what I do, and I love being a nurse. But I have 4 kids at home, and my 4 kids do not love my schedule. My schedule is really hard, and it makes it so hard for me to be their mom with 100% every day, because my job is hard. It is a hard job. It's really good, but it's really tough. And I have 2 kids who we adopted from the foster care system who have trauma in their little brains that make it really, really difficult for them to have emotional things happen to them. Isaac will slip into this, just utter fear. He's so anxious. Last night he told me he didn't think he could sleep because he was pretty sure somebody was going to stab him. Jack will just scream all the time. If you've ever been to my house, you know that they are chaos. And sometimes I use my job as a way to get away from the chaos in my home. And that's not where Jesus wants me. My number 1 priority is my kids. And so I know at this point in time in my life, Jesus is asking me if I am willing to lay down a job that I love to take care of the things that I need to take care of, to take care of the place that he has called me to be, which is with my kids. Worship team, you can come up. So I would ask you, where is Jesus calling you today? We get to be faithful with where he's placed us today. Maybe someday I'll be able to go back to the ER, and that would be wonderful. But for today, the place that I'm supposed to be is at home with my kids. And so I'm looking for another job to hopefully be as fulfilling, but also allow me the ability to be with those relationships that he has given me.